Ed Charlton has informed me that there is a literary genre that is underrepresented in the Wright Group Reads, and it is called the Dear John letter. The Wright Group's resident alien, Ed Charlton, will present for us an interplanetary contribution to this neglected art form, entitled Dear Earth. Ed?
Dear Earth, I'm looking at my souvenir. It's a snow globe of Apollo 11. 2 plastic astronauts crammed up against the plastic landing module, the plastic flag flying high. It's tacky, I know, but it's all I've got to show for 20 years' work. I lived, disguised as a human, as an American, from 1950 to 1970. And let me tell you, McCarthyism didn't worry me nearly as much as the invasion of the body snatchers. There they were, large as life, up there on the screen, the aliens. They looked like humans. They walked a little stiffly. They didn't have emotions. There were strange gaps in their knowledge of things that any American was sure to know. Yep, that was me, every detail. I told them I was English. I didn't react the way that real people reacted. Of course I didn't. How could I? I wasn't one. I was there in the crowd when President Kennedy announced the plan to land on the moon. You wouldn't have thought me lacking emotion that day. Oh, the relief. Finally, humankind was getting it. You guys were finally getting your rear ends in gear. Now, I'll admit, my reaction was partly selfish. I'd had to make a choice back in 1950. Which would it be, America or Russia? I had to bet on which nation would be first to go. I didn't want to be in the wrong damn country. I tell you, when that Sputnik went up, I had indigestion for a month. July 11th, 1969, the first moon landing. What a day. I went down to the local diner. The owners dragged out their television and stood at one end of the counter. There were people standing on chairs to look over each other's shoulders. I sat at the back watching the smiling crowd. I had a big grin on my face too, for a different reason. I was there to do a job, a really simple job, but one that required care and patience. I worked for a company, still do. That company bought the contact rights for your planet. Perhaps I should explain what that means. When the inhabitants of any planet start to explore space, they soon run into their neighbours. Most of them are friendly, some of them are not. There's a kind of interplanetary clearinghouse that appoints trustworthy races to go and meet the newcomers and help them guide them through that awkward transition from being the prize pig to being the runt of a very large litter. Pardon the expression. We won the bidding for the rights to actually perform the first contact with the Earth, and would have preferential access to the human business community, the usual deal. The trickier parts of my job were to learn enough about the way you humans behave, to assess how you would react to being contacted by another race, and work out where it should best take place. I learned early on how you would react. I saw how you react to each other. Oh boy, were we in trouble. I went to the movies. I saw The Day the Earth Stood Still, promptly ruling out a landing in the center of Washington, D.C. In the diner, watching my neighbors watching Neil Armstrong, that's when I knew how we should do it. It was the ideal setup. The world was watching. We should do it right there on the moon in front of the global TV audience. How would it be, I thought, if during a live transmission, our guys walked over the edge of a hill and came and shook the human astronaut's hand? Hi guys, we're out here too. By the end of July 1969, solely on my recommendation, we had fixed our rendezvous for the Fra Mauro formation and Apollo 13. The team was all in place in April of 1970 when Apollo 13 had a problem. I panicked, worrying that someone would suggest it was the result of an alien attack. I recommended skipping at least 1 or 2 landings, letting the humans get their confidence back. Then we'd meet them. The humans would be there eventually, but meeting the next mission, especially at the same site, would look in human eyes suspicious. But all through 1970, NASA was talking about cutting back and reorganizing the missions. It took a really short time for my indigestion to become chronic. It was like a nightmare. It was like shooting a moving target. All the while, there was an expensive base full of bored colleagues waiting up there. NASA proposed Apollo 18 would land at Copernicus, and I actually thought, great, maybe that would be even better, much better location for filming, grander vistas, woohoo! So during July and August of 1970, the team moved the base. They covered their tracks as best they could in Cone Crater at Frau Maro and went over to Copernicus. Now, Apollo 18 wasn't due for 2 years, but that was okay, really. I had them set up, mothball the base, and leave until I called them back. But I only had to wait 1 month until September rolled around. Apollos 18 and 19 were cancelled. You have no idea how sensitive companies are to cost overruns on this kind of deal. Keeping a team idle for months was bad. Moving the base was worse. Moving the base again to some undecided location at some undecided time was never going to fly at head office. I watched Apollos 14 through 17 visit an empty moon, and you didn't go back. Our options on the Earth have since expired. We had to move on. You guys cost us a lot of money. I spent 20 years scouting you out. I hope I've made you feel suitably guilty. I still give the snow globe an occasional shake. See you out there someday.